Hey guys, and welcome to Film Study, where we analyze films in various ways to make you see it in a different concept. Stories have various genres that many people grow to love for different reasons, whether it's about a superhero movie and the audience is in love with the make-believe world, or something they can relate to like relationships or feeling alone, like Evan Hansen in the film Dear Evan Hansen. I wanted to talk about this film today and discuss what it was really about. In the beginning, when I first saw the trailer, it didn't make sense to me what the premise was, but I was intrigued as to what the story was really about. As stated previously, I related to this scenario, so I wanted to see how they portrayed it on screen. I also realized that this film was based on a play, and which the play was based on a true story. Now before we get into this analysis, I do want to provide a spoiler alert, as I will be going scene by scene and basically telling the entire story. I also want to mention that this story is loosely based on real events. The producer of the film mentioned, a student in class died tragically of an overdose. It was someone who had been sort of a loner, didn't have a lot of friends or status at school, but suddenly coming of this news, Benj watched as everyone wanted to claim that they had been friends with him and claimed that they had been a part of this person's life. So the premise of the movie surrounds a high schooler named Evan Hansen who portrays as an outcast who desperately wishes he can be a part of something, anything for that matter. I was fascinated by his character and his acting within this. However, I was kind of shocked by some of the reviews that I've seen from critics, but we'll get into that a little later. In the first few shots, we are introduced to Evan as he sings the first song, waving through a window, standing in front of a mirror. Through this song, we learn that Evan has a hard time with social anxiety as he takes prescription pills and gets ready for school and starts writing a letter to himself. This is an excellent use of foreshadowing, as we see multiple examples of Evan being nervous to even go to school in the first place, with one big obvious one being standing in front of the mirror. You just see he instantly judges himself.
Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? Cause I'm tapping on the glass.
With Evan struggling with social anxiety, his therapist that he sees recommended to him that he write letters to himself addressing today is going to be a good day and here's why. When heading downstairs, he runs into his mom, who tries convincing him to have other classmates sign his cast. He seems disgusted by this, but his mom insists. He continues to school, resuming the song, waving through a window, into the auditorium. Right after this, it slam cuts to Evan and another character that is mentioned to be a family friend, Jared. Right off the bat, from how Evan speaks, you can see that he's an overthinker, with him discussing Evan's love interest.
Evan, right?
Evan?
That's your name?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, it's Evan. I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
Because you said Evan and then I said it. I just repeated it, which is, that's just really annoying when people do that, so.
Afterwards, Evan explains what happened to his arm as he's in a cast. The way he tells the story is interesting. He reveals that he was climbing a tree and fell, but then tells a story of how after he fell, he was waiting for someone, hoping someone saw him and came up to him. Of course, he was in a forest, so obviously there would have been nobody around. This is what he foreshadows in the song, Waving Through a Window.
Is anybody waving when you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around? Do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound?
After the auditorium scene, we get introduced to another character, Connor. He's made fun of by other classmates from wearing nail polish. You can tell that this affects him. Evan sees this and giggles at Connor, not to laugh at him, but with him regarding the bullies. Connor takes this the wrong way and comes after Evan.
Connor, I'm loving this manicure. Very school shooter chic. Such an idiot. Think that's funny?
What? No, not at all.
And stop laughing!
Here, we get to the rising action of the film, which in definition is the bulk of the plot, the beginning point of the action. After Evan writes his first completed "Today is going to be a good day and here's why" letter, Connor asks what happened to Evan's arm. He laughs at his explanation, but as soon as he does, he immediately feels bad. Because of this, he notices that his cast is blank. He offers to sign it as a way of saying sorry. After, he says,
Now we can both pretend we are friends.
This is a big clue. After that, he finds the letter that he printed. This is the part where it was a little hard for me to follow. The letter reads,
Dear Evan Hansen, it turns out this wasn't an amazing day after all. This isn't going to be an amazing week or an amazing year because why would it be? Oh, I know. Because there's Zoe, who I don't even know and who doesn't know me. But maybe if I did, maybe if I could just talk to her, maybe things would be better. Or maybe nothing would be different at all. I wish everything was different. I wish I was different. I wish I was part of something. I wish that anything I said mattered to anyone, but it doesn't. And it never did. And it never will. Face it, would anyone even notice if I just disappeared tomorrow? Sincerely, your best and most dearest friend, me.
Connor assumes this was about him from the mention of his sister, and Evan wanted him to find it and tell everyone he was crazy. But nothing in the letter signified that Evan was referring to Connor other than Zoe. If he had read closer into it, maybe he would have realized Evan had an interest in Zoe. Nonetheless, Connor storms out. At home, in a desperate attempt to find if Connor had posted anything on social media, Evan scours the internet, stalking his social media profiles, and at a glance, we see one of his likes that is called Sunny Glen Treatment Center. This would be another hint. On the next school day, while speaking to Jared, he mentions that Connor hasn't been present in school for the past 3 days. Then all of a sudden he gets called to the office with Connor's parents revealing to him that Connor had passed away, and the letter was found with him. Because of the structure of the letter, they believe the letter was addressed to Evan from Connor and that they were friends. Initially, what I thought was, what caused him to do it? Was it what was in the letter? Was it a coincidence that it happened right after he gave him the letter? When Evan attempts to do the right thing and immediately tell them that Connor didn't write the letter, the mother sees his son's name written on its cast, confirming her beliefs, quoting Evan as Connor's best, most dearest friend. As Evan's eyebrows raised to the sound of those words, it's almost like something clicked in his head, just hearing the word friend. During the parents' dinner that they invited Evan to, the tension here is very obvious between the sister and the parents. Zoe has a different perspective about Connor's death, which will be explained a little later. Meanwhile, at dinner, Evan still attempts to do the right thing. Under pressure from Cynthia, Connor's mom, he invents a friendship between the two. Remember, Evan desperately wanted to be a part of something. He felt wanted in this moment, so he went with it. He saw his chance to create an imaginative friendship. Evan enlists Jared in fabricating backdated emails between him and Connor to confirm his story, which results in the song Sincerely Me. Now, what doesn't make sense to me is why they are sending letters to each other in the first place when they go to the same school and see each other every day. Movie logic, right? Anyway, Zoe wonders why Connor included her name in the note due to past experiences, and Evan, still unable to tell the truth, tells her all the reasons he loves her under the disguise of Connor, which leads to another song, If I Could Tell Her. Now, I wanted to pause here before going into the second act and kind of dissect Connor's character. What do we know about him? Now, if you have seen this film, there might have been a couple moments that you have missed. At the end of Waving Through a Window, we see a glimpse of Connor in the stands, sitting by himself with no one around. Same thing at the lockers, nobody around, and in the library, sitting alone. You have to watch carefully though to the times we do see him on screen, and though his appearance is mean, there's glimpses of Connor feeling sorry for his actions. Connor even stated to Evan, "Now we can pretend we both have friends," which is proof that he doesn't, as he declares it. My question to that is, why didn't he just become friends with Evan in the first place? He noticed how Evan was, being an outcast like Connor was. Moving on to Act 2, we get introduced to the Connor Project, which is basically a memoriam for Connor through the school. During the conversation with Connor's parents, Cynthia shows Evan his room and we see holes in the wall. Moving back to school, Evan provides a speech through song called You Will Be Found, where he recalls the fake story of Connor taking him to the orchard where he fell out of the tree, signifying the message, "You are not alone." When Evan gives his speech, he's telling people that he was just like him, but acted differently, angry instead of shy. The speech is recorded and goes viral on the internet, causing Zoe to understand the differences of her brother. Later on in the story, when Evan is having breakfast with his mother, we start to notice character development in him. He's on his phone more because people are actually talking to him, the tone in his voice changes, and the way he talks to her changes as well. Later, Evan shows the note to another friend of his who is running the Connor Project. When she posts it on social media, it causes online commenters to question why Connor wrote a note to Evan but not his family, accusing his parents of mistreating him. When this causes a fight between the family, Evan finally confesses. Due to his desperation of wanting to be a part of something, he created a spiral of events that hurt another family. Evan later admits to his mother that the fall from the tree was not an accident. This is a cause of character development, coming clean and taking responsibility and wanting to change. Closing the story, Evan writes himself a letter, vowing to not hide or lie and encouraging himself to move forward in life. With Connor's appearance, you would think he would be the type to be the popular kid or just a plain bully. By his demeanor and choice of clothing, it's a painted picture that he was meant to be the bully of the story when in fact he was just like Evan. In the beginning, Zoe refused to mourn for Connor as he had bullied her, but we later learned that he too was struggling with depression just like Evan. From Evan's stories, it makes Zoe open up about her brother. Since this film received an 88% average rate from audience members and a 30% score from critics, I wanted to dig a little deeper and figure out why. One critic called it a musical adaptation that fails to fully translate the power and emotion of its timely themes from stage to screen. This insinuates that the play was better written than the film. Another critic mentioned that Ben Platt, the actor that plays Evan Hansen, that his physical presence is all wrong, but the vocal performance is outstanding. You can see how with the distance between audience and performer that the Broadway stage affords his performances would land a lot better. Now what she means by this is she believes Ben Platt was not in the right age range to be playing a high school character, and I'll admit when watching this film he did seem a bit too out of place, however it wasn't as noticeable as what she's making it out to be. The critic goes on to say, "What I do know is that the unironic adoration for such a sincere yet wrong-headed musical is hard to kick at and strangely tricky to confront. I can tell you in a review that the new movie is bad. It's definitely bad, taking an already morally off-kilter story and applying and amplifying its flaws." In an interview with ET, a few interviewees discussed Ben's age.
So the trailer came out this week and a lot of people were mocking Ben, saying that he can no longer pull off looking like a high schooler. After all the reaction to the trailer, Ben wrote in a since deleted tweet, "P.S. To the randos being jerks about age, read this great article and/or watch Grease."
The differences between the Broadway version are slight, with timing differences and some scenes being out of order and extensions of certain songs, like 2 reprises for Waving Through a Window. The biggest difference is the disappearance of the song Anybody Have a Map. Now we do have another film that we recently analyzed that was WALL-E. I'll have that link down in the description if you would like to go check that out as well. In that particular video, we discussed if WALL-E is declared as a silent film, and you would be surprised at what we found. But I wanted to know what you guys thought of the story, if you had seen it yet or perhaps watched the play. Let me know what your thoughts are, or maybe what story we should analyze next.